Hey guys, Mike here. So, oh boy, what a day in the market. I mean, a lot of green going on. The IWM was already marching, the Dow was marching, but then the NASDAQ got rescued by some more AI news at 11:30. And we're going to go over what that is. And I mean, there's just a whole lot of earnings that came out today, a whole lot of earnings come out tomorrow, which we'll also talk about and how they're going to affect the stocks and everything. But I do want to say, right off the bat, thank you very much for all your kind words from yesterday's video. Really appreciate it. And, I mean, I don't deserve it because doing the right thing is what you're supposed to do, right? So anyway, I appreciate it anyway. And so I'm going to start off with this right here because, again, the Fed has their work cut out for them. If it is their goal to raise unemployment and start to get wages back down to normal, okay? And, we'll see, but I have a suspicion that's what they're really trying to do. I know they're trying to fight inflation, but again, if they're going to do more rate hikes, then they're going to have the work cut out for them. Plus, I'm going to tell you about something to watch out for because there's call options being bought 3-to-1 on this one investment as well. And so let's get into it. You can see this right here, man. We haven't had this many consecutive months, less than 4%, since the late 60s and early 70s, like 66 to 71, I believe you can see over there to the left. I mean, so not in my lifetime. And so that's how strong this labor market is. And on top of that, we talked about the wages, right? They want to get the wages back down to normalcy because you can see the U.S. so far out of all these major countries and stuff is the only one where 2022 wages increased over 2019, not just a little bit, but you can see Germany, UK, France, Italy, Spain, Greece, none of them eclipsed 2019. And here, they're still somewhat increasing, right? Because why? I guess they don't have a shortage in the labor market like we do. That's the only thing I can guess. Let me know in the comments if you know of any other difference in that. But, this is why they want to do it, especially for small businesses and anything to do with probably retail or fast food industry or food industry in general. It's something you got to be careful on because basically I think it's like, the number one expense for any company is going to be labor. It's going to be their employees with benefits and stuff like that. And if they can't cut the wages, they're going to cut the benefits, which I've heard from a lot of you, that's what they're already doing. All right. Now, something else to watch out for, speaking of the Fed, because understand, they're not going to be raising much longer. If they do one this month at all, one more after that max. And so people are seeing, hey, these yields, they're fixing to top out and maybe even start to come down. And so what are they doing? They're buying calls, a lot more calls than puts. It's like 3-to-1 right now going on when it comes to TLT, right, which is the 20-year iShares Treasury ETF. And you can see why, just for those that don't understand, the relationship is an inverse relationship. As yields go up, you can see where they're going up, TLT goes down, and you can see the opposite happen when obviously the yields go down, TLT goes up. And so, just keep that in mind. That top part right there going to 2020 was TLT. The yields were on the bottom down there. So, it's an inverse relationship, as you can see. And so that's what they're projecting. That's why you see people buying calls. Don't mean they're going to be correct. Okay. People were buying calls 3 or 4 months ago, and they were absolutely 100% wrong and getting wrecked in those calls. Just, keep an eye on that. There's no reason to jump head first into it. I'm just letting you know that's what's happening right now behind the scenes. And yes, they are right. Yields should absolutely start to top out now or within the next like 2 to 3 months at least. Let me know what you think in the comments about that for my bond experts out there. And guys, before we continue, if you get anything out of this, please hit that thumbs up down there. I really appreciate it. And if you like the material here and the videos, think about subscribing. Now, as I told you yesterday, if regional banks come out and beat earnings or just meet it, don't even have to do anything great, okay, that the IWM would rally. So what happened? And again, all the CEOs of these regional banks, all they have to do is avoid getting on top of the desk, pulling their trousers down, and taking a dump all over the earnings report. That's all they got to do. Like, you don't even have to be great, okay? Just meet the bar, come up with something that sounds good, right? Why is that? Here's the number one reason for that right there. Look at the amount of money that these banks have been taking out since this opened up to the Fed. It is, I don't know what, I'm not even going to add that up because there's so many billions, but you can just look at it. I mean, hundreds upon hundreds of billions of dollars right there. And that's what the market really cares about because it's such a backstop that it don't even matter really what they're putting on these earnings anymore. All the banks have to really do is stay as flat or better. And you can see what was happening today. And we had mixed earnings. Some of them downgraded the forecast. Some of them actually beat earnings, things like that. But they went up huge. It didn't even really matter what they were doing because they got the backstop. And the worst case scenario for them is, hey, guess what? They go under, the executives sell their stock at an absorbent amount before the bank goes under, and then they sell it for pennies on the dollar with a great deal to one of the larger banks. Look at JP Morgan when they reported earnings. They because they bought that bank, whichever one it was, been a few go under here. What happened? They actually said it increased their earnings for this quarter just from buying it because they got such a sweet deal on it. And that's what's going to happen. That's those backroom deals. That's how the system works. But imagine, here's what the regional banks get to do. Imagine being able, let's say, I'm sure you bought bonds, same time they did, right? Terrible time to buy bonds, but you did. And they're down massively. Imagine being able to walk into a bank with that bond portfolio and say, yeah, I'm going to give this to you as collateral. I want face value on a loan I need to go whatever you're going to do with it, right? Just to get a loan, you got to give me face value for that. And first of all, the banker would laugh in your face. But if you do, because it's going to be worth money someday, don't worry about that. Just right now, it's way under, right? A lot of unrealized losses here. And imagine them actually giving you a loan for that stuff at face value. I mean, it's crazy, right? But that's what they get to do. And so everybody's like, hey. And worst case scenario, they just, 1, 2 may go under and they just ship them over to the bigger banks, right? And so that's where we're at with that. And I said, if those rally, what's going to happen to IWM? They're going to rally. And it broke through that trend line we talked about. It was able to hold that trend line that we talked about. You can see right here going back to last year in March. And so that's actually a very bullish sign if it continues, of course. But again, big move up, breaks through major resistance, which is good. Regional banks so far, we got a bunch left to report. But again, they reported decent enough today. So again, you're going to be looking, a lot of people are targeting 200, 205 as the next target to be looking at. And that could absolutely happen. This is not the Qs, okay? So, you're not going to have the Qs as you saw today and how fast it can move. The IWM is a little bit different than that. And you look at the whole chart on that one. But again, it's heading towards overbought on the RSI. Whenever this has happened in the past, it's sold off. We'll just have to see because this is more of a rotation into it versus the other times. It was not really like a full-blown rotation. Now, what is also happening, it's outperforming the SPY right now, right? Remember I showed you the chart where it was just at the critical level, whether it was going to get a bounce or not. Well, you can see it right here on a bar chart. Yeah, last two reporting times, it has absolutely outperformed the SPY, not by a massive amount, but it is. Okay, now of course, now the XLE, energy, and the banks are getting a bid on the SPY. We'll see if that continues or not. Now, the Dow. I don't even talk about the Dow. I call it your grandfather's, index for a reason, but it's not your grandfather's index anymore. Just look at the stocks on there. But you can see this inverse head and shoulders is starting to play out. It busted above the neckline today. Again, this one's only 5.5% from all-time highs right now, so it might be the first one to set a new all-time high, right? I mean, it sure ain't going to be the Russell, that's for sure. And, maybe the Qs beat it there, but we'll have to see it's kind of a race. And that's what I'm going to say with the Qs. The only thing I'm going to say about this one, it's only 5.63% away from an all-time high. And what got it going at 130 was right here. Microsoft stock pops after it announces $30 per month AI subscription for Microsoft 365. All you need to look at is AI. That's all that mattered. And you can see that candle because Microsoft wasn't doing nothing. Look at that candle right there. Boom, 1130, straight up, right? Popped up, what was it like? I think it was like 17 bucks a share, just like that. Basically, just kind of traded almost sideways from there. But that was what drove the market. And that just ignited a whole bunch of different stocks to start moving up. As soon as the algorithms heard AI, boy, they started buying up NVIDIA again, everything else. And then there goes the Qs from red to massive green, and it was fun to watch. I mean, and again, it's following this trend line. It's been following it since May right now. It's fell through one time, and so leaving its gaps behind, but that don't seem to matter. And again, it's all-time highs. There's no resistance up above. It's just how much big money wants to keep driving it up and driving it up. And of course, what NVIDIA get, it wasn't really doing too much, but it got another upgrade, right, from 500 to 550. And the reason why he said this is because he said, and the reason why the analysts come up with this upgrade, he said NVIDIA has about 75% of the market for advanced AI semiconductors, and which I think is true, actually. And so we'll see if they can hold that dominance. But again, at this level, people are still buying, and it's almost at all-time highs again. Okay, it's just staying within this channel right here. There's 3 lines. You can see it just bouncing off each one of them like a pinball, moving up. Again, it don't seem to matter that it's leaving this graveyard of gaps behind on the way up, which that's, we might need to put like a drinking game or something on these gaps. Like every time you see a gap, you got, drink something, because there's just so many of them now. It's insane. But if it keeps going, you're going to see it. I think it's going to set a record number of those gaps behind and stuff. And again, we'll see how this gets. I mean, I know people that are buying 580 calls, 600 calls, and I mean, so far they're paying off. It's insane to see it, but that's what's happening. A lot of call buying. Then there's Tesla, who reports earnings tomorrow. And on my chart, it got above that trend line I talked about. On some people's charts, they're telling me it's not above, it's right at it. But to me, I looked at it 3 different times. It looks like it's at it to me. And another way to look at this also, and it is at a critical level here, right? It's all about earnings, how the market's going to react to it. And, you'll see people with this wedge formation saying, well, obviously, if it has bad earnings, we're going to finally get to fill all those gaps that's left behind. If it has good earnings, 307 to 310 really is going to be your next target. I mean, if it has good earnings and it actually does move, it's going to go there very easily, okay? But again, I can't predict earnings. Maybe you can. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Netflix finally pushes up today into this final gap, this final massive gap that, I don't know, I talked about way back in November, December. As I said, they're going to move through the first gap. Then they're going to move to the second gap. We finally got there. It seemed like it took forever, but we're finally in the gap. We do have this trend line right here, which is rejected off of multiple times. We're sitting right at it, and they will report earnings tomorrow as well. So this is another one. We got good earnings. The market likes it. We're going to fill that gap very quickly. If not, obviously, because of this massive move up in such a short amount of time, it can move down very quickly as well. So let me know if it drop. Either one of those drop, or you buying the dip. That's what I want to know. Now, another group of stocks you might have noticed that's been rallying is basically any kind of software. I don't care if it's to do with gaming, security, defense, you name it. They're moving up, right? And you can see it with Roblox, Unity Software, Palantir, Datadog, Snow. These are just a few. There's many of them. And you can see what Palantir is going to be interesting because it is approaching a crucial level, right? This is a high supply resistance area, whatever you want to call it. So we get to see, if it can get above 21, oh yeah, I mean, that's going to be incredible to see. You can see, I mean, this has been a straight up vertical move, right? I just followed this trend right here, just bouncing on the way up. The good thing is, if you look at it though, I don't really see any gaps when I went on the hourly and looked. So, I mean, it kind of just been moving up. And you can see Datadog, it has that rounding bottom. Trend line was there. I removed it because it broke out. And, these are those kind of stocks where the RSIs just don't matter right now, right? They get overbought and they stay overbought for a long time. I mean, this one's moved up 77% in like 73 days or something like that. And then Palantir's done almost 100% move, right? And so that's just another one of those type of sectors, the software area, that's just absolutely booming right now, where people are putting their money because they were so beat down. And that leads us finally into earnings. Goldman Sachs right off the gates. ASML is going to be a big one. Bank Corp, NASDAQ. I mean, all of these, really, I can just highlight the whole thing, to be honest with you. Tons of regional banks again. The big ones will be after hours. Tesla and Netflix are the ones people really care about. United Airlines will brag about how much they're charging us for tickets. Once again, how long that's going to last. Alcoa, IBM, Discover credit cards. But I think all anybody really cares about is Tesla and Netflix, I mean, as far as retail investors. But again, the regional banks are going to be important. And again, if they rip in the morning, you can bet money the IWM is too. I did have a nice big move up today, so we'll see what happens. Don't forget, I forgot to mention yesterday, that this is monthly OPEX, right? So if you see some shenanigans, some weird movements in the markets, don't forget about that. So a lot of options expiring Friday. I think a lot of VIX options are expiring tomorrow, if I remember correctly. I believe tomorrow is Wednesday. So keep that in mind. It tends to just, that's the market makers doing their thing and stuff. So if you see some weird movements, that's probably why. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of it. Hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate all you guys that watch. I appreciate all the kind words from yesterday's video. Really thankful for that. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.